honest. Ain't nothing but being brutally honest. Coming at you with another video. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome my guest who's across the pond, is from the UK. I'd like to welcome my guy, Nick from 49ers UK Faithful. What's up, bro?
Yeah, man, all good. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, dude, it's an honor. You know, it's been kind of a minute since I've checked out a lot of you guys' podcasts, but I love the passion that you guys bring to the Niners, man, even from the UK alone, man.
Oh, you got to. You know, with games starting as late as they do over this way, you know, Monday night football, Thursday night football, prime time on a Sunday. That's a 1 a.m. kickoff for us. There's a lot of coffee drank the following day over here if you're an NFL fan.
Yeah, especially from all the way over there, and the schedule just had to come at a perfect timing. You know, I had discussions with Paul, and I know schedules weren't coming into terms yet, but coming with you at the perfect timing was pretty much the timing had to come perfectly. And you know, the Niners season alone, man, what was your reaction of going into this Niners season, like just the previous season, and what you looking forward to this offseason?
I mean, last year it was going to be we had to make playoffs. Nothing else was going to be acceptable, really. Whoever was at quarterback, because the team was stacked. It's stacked across the board. Some of the guys came through. Some of the rookies really came through. I mean, Hafanga had this epic breakout season. So many of the guys. I mean, you look at Ayuk, like he says in his own tweet, fourth choice coming from, to be looked at for any given read and still gets 1,000 yards. Find me another fourth choice receiver that's got 1,000 yards in the NFL. You know, this team was stacked. Then to have Brock come through the way that he did was just unbelievable. I was actually out there for the game when Jimmy got hurt. There were some extremely loud expletives coming from the UK faithful that were at that game. It was like, oh, that's it. This is done. You know, there's no way anything's going to get good from here. And he kind of like, oh, okay. This dude's good. This dude's really good. And he just kept rolling. And then we had the heartbreak.
Yeah,
it's the only way you can describe it.
Yeah, the heartbreak. You know, a lot of teams would struggle with going through a backup quarterback, let alone a third string quarterback. And it's like a Cinderella season. We have all the talent. It's just, if we just had a quarterback, I think it would have been a different outcome of the Philadelphia Eagles. But it was just one of those lucky situations. You know, it was just a lucky for the Eagles for that point. But I'm not bitter by the fact we lost to them. It's just the injury was unfortunate. But hey, I'd like to give a shout out to Paul, man. Paul Hope, man. We'll work something out pretty soon, man. I'm stoked for having a lot of people from the UK or anybody from the globe alone, man. It's just, you know, when you look at the faithful, you know, a lot of people say we're just a separate fan base. We don't get a lot of these global fans. No, we got UK fans. We got those Niner fans in the UK. We got fans probably from other countries that people are not even aware of. You got Mexico, certain areas in Canada, Australia, kind of up there too. But
there's a big following in Germany. Yeah. There's a really big following in Germany. I know our group, 49 and Faithful UK, we have 2,500 members alone. And that's just the Facebook group. And that's without the ones that aren't in the group. It's a massive following. You know, you talk about the NFL. You can't talk about the NFL in the UK without talking about the Niners. The NFL got big in the 80s. Well, who was the best team in the 80s? It was the San Francisco 49ers. They made it famous. It's Joe Montana. It's Jerry Rice. It's Dwight Clark. You can't talk about it without talking about the Niners.
Oh, absolutely, dude. See, what stands out about what makes you guys very passionate about the team, man, they put a lot of, like, I think they had a faithful episode, you know, where they brought up the UK fans and how you guys are well passionate, but a lot of you guys just go across the pond and go watch the Niners play at Levi's, man, or anywhere else, bro. I've never seen many fans from other countries, bro. Any fan from any other countries, they go travel to watch the team, bro. That tells you how much you dedicate the team, even from a distance, you know.
Oh, this is it. I mean, it's a long old flight from the UK. You talk. It's an 11-hour flight if you don't get any stopovers from London Heathrow straight into San Francisco. Some people, if they're staying close, obviously down into San Jose, but it's a long old journey to go watch a game.
A small presence on social media. I think you guys have a very strong passion. I think you guys are very much a very passionate group of fans. I mean, sure, we get a lot of the United States fan base. It's pretty big, but you guys have a very good, respectable fan base. You know, I just like how you guys bring the same energy. Like the way you guys feel about the team, we feel the same way. But the difference is, you know, what's the difference? Just growing up in the UK, man, what's the environment like? You know, I've never been down there, so I got to know what it's like if I ever go down there.
It's completely different. I mean, if you're looking from a sporting point of view, the entire sports landscape within over here, really, it's soccer, it's rugby. To a lesser extent, you've got cricket. And then, you know, American sports weren't really a thing over here. Certainly not when I was growing up. I mean, the first time American sports ever made local press here in Swansea in Wales was when Swansea got twinned with Atlanta and the Falcons made the Super Bowl a year or so later. And that was on the front page of the local news. But that's the only time I have ever seen the NFL mentioned anywhere. I mean, in Wales, the oval ball gets thrown backwards. You throw the oval ball forwards in rugby, that's a penalty. So we get ribbed a lot. You know, I play flag football, and every time we're training, you can guarantee there's going to be a few idiots passing by in their cars, honking the horn and shouting various obscenities about us throwing the oval ball forwards and not backwards. Like, okay, fine. Try playing.
Try to play a different sport. Rugby is a very physical sport. It's kind of like a lot more physical than football. They can punch and do some stuff like that. They can tackle.
Yeah, I mean, they've made a lot of changes within rugby now. It's a lot safer. I mean, you can't lead with your shoulder in rugby like you can in football. You can't. You've got to wrap your arms around. If you don't, you're going to go in the sin bin. You're off for 10 minutes. Probably cost your team at least 7 points. It's a very different game. The whole thing, there's a lot more protection, but they're even starting to come through now with the head thing, because there's a lot of players coming out at the moment with early onset dementia. So we'll see how that changes the game.
Yeah, it's a different culture, and I'm pretty sure going down there, that's all they are passionate about is soccer and rugby. You know, there's a lot of, like you said, cricket. That's another sport that I'm probably not too familiar with, but I had to do a lot of research on cricket, and it's kind of like a baseball field, but they have different type of sport, type of competition there. But when you look at the way it is, man, American sports alone, man, I know soccer is probably the most popular global sport of all, but I don't know. I just can't go for like hours and hours and hours watching this stuff. And then it's only like 1 point or two. Like, what's the point? Like, am I going to watch an entire 3 or 4 hours of soccer, watch a guy make one goal and then they just win the game? Like, what is this? It's a defensive battle. It seems like it, you know?
It's a completely different game. I mean, I fell out of love with soccer years ago. I've been following the Niners now. I'm 39 years old. I've been following the Niners since my mid-20s. The last probably 8 or 9 years, I haven't watched any soccer. I have zero interest in it. And it's all about the Niners for me. You know, I save up my holidays so that if it is a Monday night football game, I take Tuesday off work so I don't miss the game. You know, summer is about baseball for me. I'm a San Francisco Giants fan. Those are my two teams, realistically, and I'm just starting to get into NBA. So, of course, got to keep it Bay Area. Got to go with the Warriors.
Oh man, so we can all agree on just we can agree on those two Bay Area teams. But I'm not your typical Warriors fan. I'm a Lakers fan, man. I'm an LA guy. So here's the thing: the only LA team I can care for is the Lakers. The rest of them, they don't matter to me. Like, you look at it this way, man, like growing up, that's all I was watching the Kobe and Shaq days. Nobody during that time cared for the Warriors, you know. They were kind of like in between the Kings, you know. The Sacramento Kings had some popularity back then, but when I grew up as a fan, that's all we heard about was the Lakers, Showtime Lakers. You heard Kings. Warriors were a little bit dead, but I just started falling in love with basketball because of somebody like Kobe, man. Kobe was just a
special.
Very special. Like, if they thought he was the closest to an MJ was Kobe. It's just his style of play was just the guy carried the team. He won 2 of his last final games with lesser talent. People want to discredit him on that, but Paul Gasol wasn't a world beater, like all-star guy. He was a 2-time or something like that. You had Lamar Odom, who was okay. You had a lot of these cast-off guys, but LeBron James, I'm not taking no credit from LeBron James. He did his thing, but when they say he's better than Jordan, I have a problem with that. There's a difference. Different era.
It's difficult to judge with eras now. I try not to anymore, because obviously within soccer, there's the argument with the whole: is it Pele? Is it Maradona? Is it Messi? Is it Ronaldo? I was always of the opinion that Pele was the greatest, personally, but you can't compare eras. You're talking different rules.
Yep.
The guys these days, it's a full-time job now. They have sports psychologists, they have dietitians, they have everything that they never had back then. So you have no idea. They're not comparable, really.
Yeah, not comparable. Like, the difference is LeBron had to build a team around him, and Jordan did it on a tougher era. So, but then Kobe did it with whatever the talent he had. So the difference is those guys were good in their eras. Like, if everybody's comparing eras of what we had then, okay, Tom Brady dominated his era. But if we're talking the toughest era, I don't think he would have lasted in the 80s. He probably would have been done.
No, I couldn't see Tom Brady lasting in the 80s. Certainly not to the age that he has in this time round. I mean, did any player last that long back then? I mean, they got battered.
Yeah, a lot of quarterbacks of that caliber. Like, you had what's that dude? That one quarterback from the Washington, like what's his name?
Joe Theismann.
Joe Theismann, yeah. Joe Theismann was a pretty solid quarterback, but that Lawrence Taylor injury ended his career. So you never know. But when you look at it this way, man, going into this season, going into this offseason, I do like the fact we got Javon Hargrave. I just didn't think this would happen. What was your reaction when you found out about Hargrave signing to the Niners, man? That just had to be shocker. We don't go as big as that.
I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked, because as much as we needed help on the inside on that defensive line, I didn't think it was the massive need. I also didn't see the Niners okay, you've got Jackson, quarterback with the Ravens. He essentially is a free agent, but he had that tender on him. So Javon Hargrave was the number one true free agent available. And the Niners just went, yeah, you're ours. And hello. It really came out of absolutely nowhere. No one had a clue this was going to happen. And I love it. It's just phenomenal. We've already got the best defensive line in the league. I don't care what Eagles fans are saying. It was better already. Now we not only have gotten even better again, but we've made the second best exponentially worse. Because, okay, they've got Fletcher Cox, but they don't then have that complement. You can now double team Fletcher Cox on the inside, and you can go with a one-on-one with the other guy. You couldn't do that when they had Hargrave. Now they're going to have to double everyone on that 49er D-line. That is scary.
Oh, you know what's even scary is whoever's that other end, that's going to benefit him, like Drake Jackson. Let's go with the topic of Drake Jackson. This can be his breakout year, because usually the second year of a player coming off his rookie season, they always go to the rookie wall, but the following season they tend to break out. Like, let's put a buy or sell into this one. So for Drake Jackson, do you think he'll get 10 sacks, or you don't think it's going to happen?
I don't think he'll get 10. I think he'll have a very good season. I think his play will warrant a double-figure sack season. I don't think he'll get it. I think we'll see him still being rotated a fair amount. But a lot of it's going to depend on who we pick up in the draft, I think, because we don't have a massive amount of depth on the outside. So Drake's going to have to pull up a lot of those snaps that we lost through Amenahu, that we lost through Ebukam. It's going to be rough for him, I think, but like you say, he's going to have his opportunities.
Okay, so it's more like So it's more like you sell into it because you're not because you just don't see it as a double-digit sack, which I respectfully understand. I just think he's going to get more snaps, even with the rotation. I still think he might still able to get towards that level, but the rotation, the draft, it could depend on it. And Kerry Hyder coming back is kind of like a interesting question mark. We're bringing some guys. You got Colin Farrell, who's been an underperformer with the Raiders. Austin Bryant, if he were to stay healthy, I think he had the best get-offs. Like, I watched Austin Bryant's film a little bit, and I see the get-off is like, I don't know how you can't coach that, but just can't stay healthy. That's the problem.
It's a big problem, but we're just going to have to see what happens. We don't have the greatest history when it comes to injuries. We all know this. I swear that our training ground is built on some old Native American burial ground or something, because that place is cursed. I swear it is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it just seems that way. But we've been hearing a lot of this trade rumors and all this topic, man. Like, is this Trey Lance's last opportunity as a Niner, or you really think this is pretty much like he's gonna stay put? Like, I hear a lot of this Trey Lance is gonna be gone. Is it so? Buy or sell? Do you think Trey Lance is good as gone on draft day, or you think he's gonna stay put?
I think he stays put. I think he is the starting quarterback week one. I know there's a lot of thing about how much Kyle likes Sam Darnold. I'm not buying into that too much. I think it doesn't make any sense to let Trey go now, because at the moment his trade value is at his absolute lowest. The whole point, they talk about football being a business. Football's a business. It's rammed down the player's throat. It's rammed down our throats as fans. Well, what good is a business decision if you're selling at its absolute lowest? It makes sense that whilst Purdy is out, you maximize Trey's value. So you get him on the field, you show what he's worth, you build him up for next season. That's when you trade him. Once you've got Purdy back and you know what's going to happen, he's all safe. You don't have to rush back your quarterback of the future. It makes no sense to trade Trey now.
I just don't see it make any sense. I mean, a lot of these topics about him being traded, I just don't see it as like, it doesn't benefit both sides of teams. It might benefit the other team more than the Niners, because Brock Purdy isn't healthy. The question mark on Sam Darnold, we don't know. Then we're going to be short on quarterbacks. So it's like, we got to, like, if we're going to trade Trey Lance, we have to restructure that contract at least to where we can get off the books on this deal. And I don't think that's going to happen. So I think the Niners they're fine with the quarterback situation. I think it's probably the cheapest contract we're going through, because, financially, most teams are paying significant salary cap on a quarterback. The Niners have the cheapest quarterback money. You look at Sam Darnold, his incentive contract can go up to $4 million. You look at Brock Purdy, it's below $1 million. But Trey Lance, I think he has like a salary cap of somewhere between almost like, what is it, 5 or 10 million between. So that's still a cheap contract, no matter how you look at it.
This is it. I mean, it's a win-win situation at the moment with our quarterback room. I really like the quarterback room as long as Sam Darnold stays off the field and he is just that emergency backup. I actually really quite like how much we're being linked with the lad from UCLA in the draft. If we can get him far enough down, we've got enough picks at the back end of that draft where we can go pick him up. We don't play him. We can stash him for a year because no one else knows what he's like, so they're unlikely to go trying to take him. So we can stash him for a year, and then after a year, he becomes the backup for Brock Purdy in a year's time. And then we're still in a situation where we've got two very young quarterbacks, both on incredibly cheap deals, so we can continue to stack the offense and stack the defense with talent to go and win Super Bowls.
I mean, I think that's smokescreen. We're just meeting up with him with a private workout. I know who you talking, that UCLA quarterback. He's a dual threat quarterback. He's got some solid arm talent right there. He put on some good numbers at UCLA. But I think a team's going to draft him pretty high. I heard that his draft value is like insane. Like, I think he might be gone before we even get the guy. But if he slides further, if he slides between the 5th round, I think he'd be too good to pass. But I don't think it would be necessary to get him, because you want to have at least 3 quarterbacks on your roster, but that wouldn't be fair for a DTR to come on our roster. And then what if he just doesn't even make the team? What's the purpose?
That's true. I just think it might be with the way that the Niners are drafting. They're always drafting a year into the future.
Oh, yeah.
So a year into the future, you're looking at just Brock Purdy at the moment. From the 3 that we have now, he's the only one that's going to be left. I would imagine Sam Darnold will be gone. He will likely try and find somewhere where he can go at least compete for a starting job, because he isn't going to get that in San Francisco. Trey will likely be gone at the latest next offseason. So the Niners are going to want someone in place now, I think, that can at least start to learn what's going on, so that should something happen, not the season coming, but the season after, they have a guy who's got a year and a half under his belt in car system, understands the verbiage for the calls and everything, and he's there. I don't think they want to be in another situation where they're going to a Mr. Irrelevant who has had 6 months in the system.
Yeah, you don't want to go through. You don't want to go.
You're not going to get that lucky again.
Yeah, it's not like you're not going to struck twice with getting this guy in the pick of the draft. I mean, Mr. Irrelevant just came in as a lucky pick, and see, they're making comparisons of what it took for the Niners to find himself a really good quarterback. We didn't have to trade for this guy. He was just a compensatory last pick in the draft. So now you get this question mark. I think it's one of the greatest questions of the offseason is the Niners at quarterback. Who's going to be the answer? Can any of these guys stay healthy too? So you have to figure which one's going to stand out. Is Brock Purdy going to come healthy coming into the season, or is Sam Darnold going to write up the story and prove that he wasn't a bad quarterback? Or does Trey Lance prove to the front office that they made the right decision by picking him in the first place? So you get those 3 question marks. It's an interesting offseason. Like, the Niners are stacked. We have a pretty interesting roster. Our defense is like between the top 5. Our offense has got the making to be a really good offense. It's just the quarterback position has been the question mark for quite some time.
It really has. And I think let's be honest, don't get me wrong, it's great for content creators. It's something as a fan I'm sick of. I don't want that question anymore. I want to know who the guy is. And then, okay, let's see. I want the question to be, what weapons are we giving him? I want what defense are we putting together? I am, like probably anyone else, I am sick to death of that quarterback question.
That is a question
mark.
It's a question mark that, it gets pretty old for sure. But it's probably one of the most interesting for other fans because they don't know who our quarterback is. But for us Niner fans, we're getting sick of this question. It's an old question. It's been going on since Kyle Shanahan has been our head coach. That's been the question mark. Who's going to be our quarterback? Oh, we thought Jimmy was the guy. Oh, we traded so up for Trey Lance. We thought this was the answer. Oh, we get this kid, the last pick of the draft, Mr. Irrelevant. He comes out of nowhere, surprises people. Then you go sign Sam Darnold. It's something about the front office. It's something I'm getting suspicious about, man. I'm just starting to scratch my head a little bit. Like, so Sam Darnold does have an incentive contract where it can go up to $4 million if he starts or plays pretty well. So that kind of that's the question mark right there. And it's still a question we still have yet to answer.
Yeah. It is a weird one. It hasn't been made easier by the moves that have been made by the front office. I can understand why people are questioning it. I can understand why a lot of content creators are questioning it, and why we talk about it so much. It's the most important position in sports. At the end of the day, you want that position solidified. But I think the answer's there. I think the answer is Brock Purdy, personally. I think he is the man moving forward. I think he's going to be absolutely phenomenal. I think he's going to be special. But we're lucky now that we have got Trey Lance, and we need to now make the most of that. We now have to find a way to maximize that trade value and get as much of those 3 picks we gave away back for him, because we're not going to get 3 firsts back. There's not enough time. He'd have to win the Super Bowl and Brock Purdy be out, and then still decide, oh yeah, we're still going to trade Trey, which, well, if he's won the Super Bowl, chances are you're not trading him.
Yeah. It's kind of like a difficult situation, but I guess from what I'm looking at, so I guess Sam Darnold's contract can go up if he plays more. So I might have to look more into the contract, but I thought it had $4 million incentive or something. So I guess it can go up, kind of like Jimmy Garoppolo's contract. I mean, yes, if it wasn't for that throw to Sanders, I think we wouldn't have this topic with Brock Purdy. I think we would have the discussion that Jimmy would be our guy. I think the injuries have pretty much derailed Jimmy Garoppolo as a Niner. If he were to stay healthy, let's say hypothetically Jimmy was just durable and stayed healthy for years, would this even be a question at quarterback? Like think of it this way. Let's just say hypothetically Jimmy doesn't go through injuries and stays healthy, plays consistently at a high level, makes that nice throw to Sanders. Would this be a different story?
Oh, absolutely. Because you're probably talking about potentially 2 Super Bowl rings at that point. And you don't. How often do you trade a quarterback that's won 2 Super Bowls? You know, he's still a Niner. He's probably raking in the big bucks, living the high life, wearing red and gold for the rest of his career. You know, but he didn't. So, and this is why we find ourselves in this position at the end of the day.
That's what it is. And that's what we were hoping for Jimmy Garoppolo to be. We gave him so much of that money because we thought in those 5 games that this is the guy, and it just never panned out. See, that's what's going on, and Steve was on point about it. If it wasn't for this, and if it wasn't for the injury for Jimmy Garoppolo, this wouldn't be a discussion to begin with. But a lot of reports. So why trade a keeper? I mean, you want to see what you get with Trey Lance at this point. Like, even if he's not a part of the plans, at least you get to up that value, right? You get to up that trade value a little bit. But let's say hypothetically he plays a lot better and he looks good. Is it even still a discussion to even trade him, even if he plays pretty well? Like, let's say going into this season before Brock Purdy comes back, let's say Trey Lance plays really good and does good enough to where you kind of say, you know what, maybe he is the guy. But do you feel the need that maybe we could still trade him and feel confident about Brock Purdy?
I think you're going to need to, for Trey to stay, I think you're going to need Brock to be out for the entire season. And I think you're going to need to see, at bare minimum, an NFC Championship performance from Trey Lance for him to realistically get that job back. I think if Brock Purdy is back within 5 to 6 weeks, he's going to pretty much automatically take over the QB1 job as soon as he's 100% fit. And they roll from there. And then that's probably Trey back to the bench until he gets traded.
Yeah, that's what happens. I mean, I just want to see what he can do. And if I see enough games to where it gives me the idea, you know what, maybe he's not the guy, but I haven't gone to that conclusion as of yet, as most fans, can I at least see Trey play at least a little more games so I can get it? But some people are already too quick to judge. And I feel like we got to see what the kid does. And Brock Purdy's going to come back like in no time. It's just you don't want to rush him. He's coming off an elbow injury. That can be a major setback if you put him back out there too soon.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is why pitchers, when they have the full Tommy John, they're out for the year. And you will not see them again throw a ball for quite some time. We don't want to be rushing him back. If he is our quarterback for the future, it's a stupid thing to be doing.
Yeah,
and I want to see Trey. Trey flashed. I mean, the one that always sticks out was that crossfield pass to Debo. I mean, that was insane, absolutely insane. I want to see more of it. Of course, I do.
Yeah, we want to see
who's on the back of the shirt.
Yeah, we want to see more of that, but it's just the injuries has been the question mark of him, and he hasn't really played a lot of college games, so that's why people question it so much. I mean. Yeah, it's a question mark. 17 career starts in college. That is a question mark because that he didn't play enough games. That's barely like one season of experience. And we're taking that gamble. We want to see what he can do. We really feel that this guy is like like they think of him as like a Josh Allen or a Mahomes type of guy, but we don't know. We see that arm talent. We see the way he throws the ball. It's like I don't think Brock Purdy can even throw that type of pass, let alone Sam Darnold. I don't think any of those guys on our roster can throw a pass like Trey. Accuracy has been the question mark with him, but I think he's been working through the offseason on improving that area.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're going to see that from every quarterback. Of course, they're going to do that. I mean, I feel for Trey. I feel like Trey is probably the unluckiest quarterback in the NFL. He gets to college. He, finally finds a college that's going to play him at quarterback, because there was so many colleges that wanted him, but they wanted him to play somewhere else. Change position. Like, no, I want to be a quarterback. And a fair play to the young man for sticking to his guns. He gets to college. COVID hits. Destroys his college career. He gets to the NFL. The Niners showed a lot of belief in by trading up to number 3 for him. Then I fully agree with him sitting the year behind Jimmy. Then he gets in, he gets given the keys to the team, and he gets hurt so soon after. The guy's just had so much bad luck. None of it's on him. I feel for him. I really do, because you can see the talent's there. The talent is there. He needs time.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in a team that's built to win a Super Bowl now, time isn't something you're necessarily going to get.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a complicated situation with the Niners. I mean, we are built to win now. We've been built to win now for quite some time. It's just Trey Lance is the kind of quarterback that you need to let him go through the growing pains. Like, he's going to have to go with a bad team that he can turn around, but we're not a bad team. We're like a team that's winning. We're just, I think, like some people are, we're not patient with the process. I get that part. But when you look at the talent, it's there. It's just, are we putting too much pressure on this kid to be really good? That's the question mark. I mean, I don't know. Shanahan just doesn't seem to let the guy be himself. Like, he doesn't let him throw the ball. I don't see him throw the ball as much. But when it comes to Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo, he lets those guys pass the ball. I question that a little bit.
It is a bit of an odd one. I can kind of see why. I can. Jimmy and Brock have had a lot more experience at the collegiate level, and they've shown what they can do. I mean, Brock's biggest problem at Iowa State was he felt he had to be the man all the time. He didn't have weapons in any way, shape, or form. Certainly not in his final 2 years. You had that. I think it was his second year. He actually had a decent team. They would. I think at one point they were even nationally ranked, but then it all fell away after they started losing all that talent through the draft. Trey's never had that, realistically. I mean, he had what 1 year with Christian Watson.
Yeah,
and that's about it.
That was only 1 year of what he had in college, and then the COVID year just really ruined what we could have seen more of. I think COVID delayed his final season, and he only had one play. He only played one game, and that was it. That was a risk factor. So we drafted this kid who's only played 17 games and only played one college game, and that was it. That was pretty much it. And the guy hasn't thrown a single interception except one in college. That's it.
That's it. I think you have this thing, though, because everyone in the NFL suddenly became quite scared of missing out on the next Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
After Pat slipping, was it 17th he was taken by Kansas?
No, 12th.
12th. So you got 11 teams that said, nah, we don't fancy him. Nobody wants to be that anymore. So the teams are taking much bigger risks on quarterbacks that seem to have those intangibles, have that ability to do something special, to make you say, wow. And there aren't that many of those available, sadly.
Yeah, sadly, that's just what makes Patrick Mahomes' value so high, is because they look at him as like a Mahomes type. And it's like Trey Lance is like, I guess you could say he has the look of what Patrick Mahomes is in the arm talent. And it's just like you kind of figure, you don't want to miss out on a guy like him. And I think that's what it is. Like, when we see somebody like a Mahomes, we're saying, oh, we got to take this guy now. Because we screwed up and a lot of it. But under the previous years with the Niners, we passed on project quarterbacks for quite some time. But now our fan base is complaining about these quarterbacks now. Didn't we pass on Aaron Rodgers once upon a time ago, and he was a project? We
There's a lot of quarterbacks that have been passed on down the years at the end of the day, and some of them make
projects. They were projects. Like you look at Josh Allen, he was a project. He had to work on accuracy and a lot of stuff, and he couldn't stay healthy in college, so that was considered project. Carson Wentz was a project. I mean, he could have been really good, but never stayed healthy. There is a lot of project with Patrick Mahomes. He needed to learn the entire playbook. So the Niners take this route of a project quarterback. Now it's more like they're giving up on this kid. If it was just a regular quarterback, if it was a Mac Jones, how you think our fan base would have reacted? They would have been super pissed about it because Mac Jones is exactly what you get with Jimmy Garoppolo, just a better team around him. Look what he did at Alabama. He put up the numbers because he had some damn good receivers. He did okay in New England, but it would have been a different tune if we would have got Mac Jones.
I'm not so sure. I don't rate Mac in any way, shape, or form, to be honest. I think the guy was going to be a bust from day one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it kind of had potential, like he could have been easily a bust with it, but I think he would have fit more as an accurate passer, because Shanahan would have just took away his weakness. But then if he would have got Justin Fields, that would have been a little bit of a disaster. That could have been like RG3 written all over it, man. I don't know. That just run this kid to the ground. It just doesn't make sense. I can see why we went with Trey Lance because the upside. It's just something you can't coach.
There is, and I think over the last sort of 2 years as well, I think we've seen that. I feel like Trey Lance has more of a professionalism about him. And there's been a few times where Justin may have said a few things that I'm thinking, oh, I don't want my quarterback saying things like that. And I've been far more impressed with the way that Trey handles himself.
Yeah, he handles it more professionally, but a lot of good quarterbacks who come into the league, they're either the guys who are projects. There's some that are NFL ready, but was Justin Herbert considered a project? I think he was. He needed to work on better decision making coming out of college, and I think he had to sit down for a little bit to become a starter. I don't think he was a starter right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not going to find too many players are ready straight off the bat. I mean, look at Trevor Lawrence. The man never lost a single game in college. And then he goes to the Jags, and he really had to go through some crap. Man. Let's be honest. He went to a horrific team, and now he's got lumped with he who shall not be named as a general manager.
Oh, Trent Baalke.
I can't even say his name.
Oh! You know what? I'm gonna do an impersonation. I'm gonna do like a voice impression of Trent Baalke. Yeah, we value these players. He will contribute for us next year. I like his tape. He stands out. I feel comfortable drafting this kid. He will make a huge difference. I really believe this kid's upside. Let's take a flyer on this kid in the second round. He will be great next year. Doesn't that sound like him?
Excellent. Honestly, I've just had horrific shivers down my spine as a result. I hate that man.
I hate this conference. I hate his conference.
How has he got a job in the NFL? Honestly, God, I can't believe Shad Khan has hired him. It's like, what are you doing? Honestly, do you want to drive your team into the ground? Because that is what he's going to do.
Yeah, you don't win games with your defense, but if you find a difference maker, he may miss some time, but the guy has first-round talent. I'm taking a flyer on this kid.
I hate him.
I know. I can't stand him, but when you hear him do those press conference, right, doesn't it sound exactly what he says?
Yeah, this kid was listed as a first-round talent, but we got him in the third round. I feel comfortable with this pick.
He's nuts.
I know.
He's nuts. I don't get how a team at any point would think, yeah, do you know what? I'll give that man the keys to my franchise. There's a $4 billion franchise for you, mate. You go run it. No.
Yeah, the Cons, bro. The Cons, they run the business, but one runs the wrestling business and the other one just runs the Jaguars. But Jaguars are kind of like a team that just give up on so much talent. Like, I just never understood. They had a culture, and then they get rid of these players for a bag of chips. But what's the future holding for Jacksonville? Are they going to really put up with this? I mean, he kind of seems like it kind of seems like this culture kind of just wants to be cheap at some point. Jaguars are kind of like a team you want to build a franchise with because you got Trevor Lawrence, but how long are they going to put up with Trent Baalke shenanigans? At some point, they're going to realize he's not exactly what you think he is.
Yeah, I think they'll find out soon enough as well. To be honest, I don't think he'll have as long a leash as he got with Jed. I'm just glad that Jed finally sort of woke up and went, "Nah, I need to get rid of this guy."
Hey, Chad, let me stay. I'll clean up the office. I'll clean the toilets. Just give me a raise. I'll do whatever you want, sir.
Oh, mate.
I can do impersonations of him all day, bro.
Yeah, this is why Jacksonville hired me. They are a great organization. They know how to run the business. The Cons, I like them better than the Yorks. But Jed's my buddy. I still talk to him to this day.
You won't find Jed admitting to that.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It's just so true. Like, you think about it, but then I could just go on with this guy all day, bro. But you know what? Enough of this guy. This guy was somebody we want to throw tomatoes at because his draft choice was terrible. But John Lynch, he just has a different vision. Like, what do you feel the difference with John Lynch compared to what we had with Trent Baalke?
I think John gets it. You've got all of the media training just allows him to be able to sit back and have that poker face. You know, you can go back to that trade with the trade with Chicago to get them to move up one spot, and how much they gave up to go and pick to Mitch. I can't remember his name now.
Mitch Trubisky.
Mitch Trubisky. How much did they give up to go and pick Mitch Trubisky? And we still got the exact guy we wanted. The very next
third round picks.
Yes, mate. He did them. He absolutely fleeced them. I really like the way they've gone about things. I think the best thing they did as well was go and get Adam Peters from the Broncos. They obviously, John obviously has a very good relationship with the Broncos, from the ownership right the way down to John Elway. They're obviously still very good friends from his playing days there. And he recognized that, I like this Adam Peters. Adam Peters is going to be our next GM. I'm sure of it. I think you're going to see, I think we might get 2 more years out of John. Then he's going to move up. But whatever John is doing behind the scenes, certainly regarding the scouting of the college players, when they get down to once we get beyond round 4, our hit rate beyond round 4 is phenomenal. Find another team that's hitting as many times as the Niners have done in those late draft picks.
Oh yeah,
it's phenomenal. The only team I think that's had as much success, but admittedly it was only in one singular draft. I thought the Jets last year. That's going to be a draft.
Right on the ballpark they did last year. They got a lot of
phenomenal.
But I think when it comes down to those late round picks, that's where we make our money out of it. Like especially in the 5th round, that's been our gems at. Like you get a lot of these studs. You get a George Kittle, who's an all-pro tight end. Drake Greenlaw, who's one of those really good linebackers I really like. There's a lot of those hidden gems that you just don't realize. But 3rd round picks, sometimes we get those hit and misses, but they turn out pretty solid. But Avery Thomas is one of those disappointments. I had some high hopes on this kid.
Yeah, he's been a bit up and down. I think he's probably been supplanted, but especially by the way Lenore finished last year. I think he's probably going to take up that starting spot opposite Tre'vius Ward now, especially with Mosley now obviously signing with the Lions. I was gutted we lost him, but they obviously offered more money than what we were able to do. So, but to be honest, the way Lenore finished up last season, I'm pretty comfortable with him at corner. And I think Sammy Womack's going to come in. I think he'll end up playing the nickel spot and we'll be just fine anyway. Ambry maybe just be one of those late bloomers because he's flashed here and there.
Yeah, the thing with the cornerback position is Lenore is getting better with confidence, and he's learned his mistakes. And when you watched him play throughout the playoffs, he was playing like a veteran out there. So he was looking like he belonged. And you look at the rest of our cornerback depth, we got Isaiah Oliver who can play the nickel. This guy is exceptionally underrated. I think that's one of the most underrated signings by far because I was talking to an Atlanta Falcons content creator, and he told me how much of a huge pickup he was to the Niners. He said this guy can be a difference maker for you guys. Like Isaiah Oliver's got those lengthy arms, but he can play the nickel really well. So that's somebody to watch out for. I think he'll start at the nickel spot for us.
He looks like a really good pickup. I was actually pretty happy because I know a lot of you saw a lot of stuff online where people were like, "Who is this guy?" Actually, and then all of a sudden, all of the tape started rolling from that game where we lost.
Yeah, Jimmy threw that pick to him.
And all of a sudden, oh, actually, this could, and then other people start getting on the band. Oh, this guy's actually pretty good. And I think he'd be a surprise little pickup. But like you say, I think he'll end up playing nickel. I think he's going to be competing with Samuel Mack.
Yeah, for sure. It's like the quarterback position is going to be interesting, but I still think we'll probably add at least maybe another player or so. And you know what else we need to address that I think we need to do is, besides the right tackle, I know McKivitz is not the long-term answer. I think that's pretty obvious, but I think the one position that everybody keeps ignoring is the number 2 tight end spots. I just think we need that difference maker. We need somebody to complement George Kittle. Because Kittle, he'll miss time. And when he misses time, we have to rely on somebody else. And none of them seem to step up at times. Like Ross Tweley, he just, I don't know. It's like he shows the flashes, then he disappears. Charlie Warner, he's more of a blocker, but tries hard to catch the ball. But it's just, I want that go-to tight end who can help us.
I think this is the draft for that as well. They've already shown how deep the tight end position is within the draft. I think there'll be a difference maker available when we're picking at 3. Picking in the 3rd round, because we've got a number of picks in there. I wouldn't be surprised to see a tight end picked up from there.
Oh yeah, I mean the Niners have met with majority of the prospects, the tight end prospects. Like you can name all the list. Like a lot of them, like even the ones who you guys are very high on. I don't know about those other 2, the ones from Notre Dame and Utah. I don't think we've had meetings with them, but I think we're going by the ones who we have a realistic chance to get. So I do like some of them. They really seem to like Braden Willis a lot more. And then you got other guys like Tucker Kraft, Josh Wiles, and quite a few good ones. Tucker Kraft is somebody that comes up to my attention. He seems like a pure tight end. Luke Schoonmaker kind of seems intriguing. Seems like he's got the athleticism, a lot of stuff. It's kind of interesting, you know?
Yeah, there's going to be someone there. I think we probably take a tight end in the 3rd. I've decided to take Stanford on as my team, so I'm also kind of hoping that Mike Wilson, the receiver from Stanford, is still there. That's going to be obviously after the really good showing in the at the Senior Bowl. I think he might have been taken probably by that point, which would be a shame. But yeah,
oh yeah. You know, speaking of draft crush, man, is that your draft crush, Michael Wilson, or who's that draft crush that you gotta say the Niners need to get this guy?
Sadly, my draft crush will never be a Niner. But my draft crush it's Tanner McKee.
Oh, so it's the quarterback. So Tanner McGee.
I love Tanner McKee. I think Stanford's results will hurt his draft. Will hurt his draft position big time because they didn't have a great season. But then, if you actually take a look at it and see who was playing, he's pretty much missing his entire receiving talent. Yep. And he did okay, especially when you took the last game of the season against BYU. They were down big. They were down really big, and BYU didn't rest any starters towards the end of that game, and he still nearly won with no wide receiving talent at all. He's a quality player. I think he's also got he's the kind of guy you want leading a franchise as well. You know, he obviously takes his faith very seriously, and he took 2 years out to go do that mission to Brazil for his church before going to college. How many people are going to delay earning millions upon millions of pounds to go and do that? I think that shows them what kind of a person he is. You can trust him with your team going forward. I think Tanner McKee is going to be one hell of an NFL quarterback. Someone's going to get a bargain because he's going to go in the 5th or 6th round.
Wait, so you're just going by how you see the Niners are going to get him. So you don't see it happening, but I
don't see it happening. But he's the guy I love most in the draft.
But let's say hypothetically, let's say if he is available in the 6th or whatever round he is. Let's say the Niners pull the trigger on this guy. What would you react? Would you kind of have that? What would you do?
I'd be over the moon. I would. I'd be absolutely over the freaking moon. For a start, my Tanner McKee card collection, which is sat in a box behind me, would suddenly jump. That's all of a sudden going to be pride of place because there's no way I'm affording any Brock Purdy cards. That's for sure with the price those things are going for. but I also know he's never going to be a Niner.
Yeah.
And even if we do draft him, the likelihood of him playing is incredibly low. I think on our show, on mine and Paul's show, 49 and Faithful UK Live, in our comments, it has been that he is the kind of quarterback that Kyle Shanahan likes.
Yeah,
he does have that. He does have that, and he's very accurate, and he's very good with it. He's not so great outside the numbers. He doesn't have a massive amount of arm strength, but he does seem like your prototype thing. So,
well, yeah, absolutely. Like I think you're realistic and you're on point. But hey, here's a good question. I see you have something behind your back. Is that like some trophy? I know there's a Niner collection, but is there a couple of trophies you won also, or no?
There are. In fact, the one at the top actually is the replica of the NFC Championship trophy. The one underneath is mine. The medal is where I captained the team to the UK National Division 1 playoff runners-up. We went into the playoffs as the 8th seed. We ended up beating the 2nd seed in the quarterfinals. We beat the 1st seed in the semifinals. Unfortunately, we lost in the final. So it was just a game too far for us. And the trophy that it's resting on is my trophy for Offensive Player of the Year.
Oh, nice. See, that's a nice accomplishment. Like you guys. So is that like a flag football thing, right?
Yeah, flag football. It's getting really big over here in the UK.
Dude.
Big.
Like, yeah, flag football is kind of becoming a thing because, like years ago, I would just play with a couple of dudes over there, and I didn't know much about the flag football tournaments and all this stuff. So I started surrounding myself around a lot of people, and a lot of people been playing flag football, and they asked me, "Hey, why not you come with us? We can use you in some other ways." And I'm like, "Okay, let's see what's up." And I'll tell you what, it's a lot of fun. Flag football is a lot of fun. You get to play with a lot of these guys. You get to build some good friendships with those people. And competitive wise, man, I just love the energy, dude. Like they try to find some ways to get you out there, dude. But flag football, it can be a little risky, but it's fun.
It is, and it's all about the skill positions. It's all about your receivers. It's all about your corners, your safeties, and it's so much fun. I've loved it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm 39 years old. I'm coming towards the end of playing. Obviously, the NFL are making an enormous push on making flag an Olympic sport because full contact is never going to be an Olympic sport, but flag has a chance, and that's a lot of fun. They're pushing it big over here in the UK. It's really, really kicking on. The uptake is phenomenal. It's one of the fastest growing sports here in Europe. We play the 5-on-5 version with zero contact.
Oh, zero contact.
So up until this season, I've been playing center. So essentially, I would run a tight end route tree. Snap the ball, and at that point, I'm running a tight end route tree pretty much at that point. I've been really lucky. Flag gave me a lot. I started playing, and then just after my first year, I got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
Oh, that sucks, man. That's just a tough disease to go through. It's a rough one. But like, I've done a lot of sports throughout my days, and the last time I played a single down of football was in 2019 in a minor leagues, so it's kind of been like 3 or 4 years ago. So it's like I stopped playing the game. I had fun. I went from a winning culture, at first when I started to make my decision to just go play for the minor leagues and something like that. I just wanted to see what was there to offer and just have fun. And once I started to look at the difference between the teams I played for, I'm like saying there's one thing I just need to be a part of, something great, nothing negative, nothing putting people down. So when I went to that other team just gave me some bad vibes, and I just couldn't put up with this. So I'm like, man, is this just like going back to high school again? Because if I wanted to, I leave. But this one was more like an option. I can just walk out if I wanted to. But I try to put up with this team and all that stuff. And then eventually I started making my decision and letting the guy know, like, hey, I'm not coming back. I'm just going to take another direction. So after the season was over with that team, it caught them by surprise that I jumped ships to their rival. I told them, dude, nothing personal. I got nothing against you guys. I felt disrespected. I put some dirty laundry out there, and I shouldn't have never did it, but I kind of needed to be said. And a lot of the guys on the team, just on the other side, they respected it. Mm-hmm. They were fighting behind me. They were pretty much taking sides with me and telling me that's wrong how they treated me. And they had a brotherhood. So going from that other team Stallions, they were cancers. But when I went to the Wolfpack, they built a winning culture. They are back-to-back champions for a reason. And I went from a different culture that was very, there's a negative side. Mm-hmm. There's people who want to point fingers, and I got tired of it. But I went to this culture, and they encourage you. They push you. They make sure you get better. And that's the difference between winning. You don't point fingers. You find ways to get better.
Well, this is it. I mean, I remember in my very first game, to answer your question there, mate, my team is the Swansea Hammerheads.
Oh, Swansea Hammerheads.
We're the Swansea Hammerheads. We play Div 1 football here in the UK. We're pushing to try and move up now this season. In fact, we had our first games of the season last weekend. First 3 games, rough start of the season. We went 1-2. We were looking for 3-0. We know we're the favourites for the league, having done so well last year. We put a target on our backs. Teams are upping their game against us.
Absolutely.
But, the league as a whole is just phenomenal. I just remember, at the end of my first year, when the diagnosis came in that I had MS, I was getting messages from up and down the league, from teams I hadn't played.
Yeah,
get what's it. It was awesome. It was the entire community with flag football here in the UK is absolutely awesome. They really are.
They must be very encouraging about pray for you and all that stuff. So, I mean, there's a lot of what goes on in the community when they support you and got your back. It's a good thing. But before we ended this on a good topic, man, I'm gonna show you my last football helmet so people can get the question. So people can silence the doubts, bro. They said, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You never played a single down." I actually played center for just a little bit. Played guard, played tackle, but even played defense. Even was the gunner. I was a 300-pound guy running off the kickoffs, making tackles. And that was my only opportunity to get playing time, was to let the guys know that I can do that. And they told me, if you don't make a tackle on the field, we'll just put you on the sideline for the rest of the year. And I say, hey, I'm cool with that. I'll bet myself on it. If I make that tackle, you're going to have to put me out there. And once I made that play, bam, they just had to figure out some way to do it. Because when I made that tackle on the kickoff, man, I made a physical hit right on the returner, bro. And the coach looks at me and says, how the hell does a guy like your size just run that quick and hit him pretty hard? I just had that little instinct.
This is something in the back of the head then, is it? It's just like, let's go.
I had to prove something.
Yeah, man. Bet on yourself. Why not? No one else is going to. Got to go for it.
Yeah, got to go for it. But yeah. Hey, but it's got to be fun, bro. You got your stories with flag football. I played flag football. It's a fun experience, but I played through the contact sports, bro. I had to go through some concussions, fractured finger where I had to tape my fingers in and play through the injuries. It was a pain tolerance, I even had to hike the ball with just on my other hand because it was that bad, but I didn't want to miss no time.
That's fair.
That makes me an Ironman at times. But so when I played other positions like offensive line, it wasn't something I enjoyed playing, but I just had to do it anyways. That was just exactly what the coaches wanted me to do. They wanted me to play center. I had to let them know I'm dependable. Yeah. Didn't want to play it, but I had to. There was no other option. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
You can't let the team down at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Hey, but it's been a blast, bro. We've had a good chit chat, bro. But for anybody else that's not too familiar with you, man, tell everybody where they can find your channel and tell everybody where they can find you on your social media platform, man. I got to say this, man. We can go on for hours.
I think we could.
We can go on for hours, but I think we got some stuff to do, bro. And we'll catch up sometime, bro. I appreciate a lot of fans from all over the globe, bro. Especially the UK, bro. You guys are the most passionate fans. You guys have a lot of – it's just something I got to respect, bro. It's we may not come as the same country, but we come as equal. We rep that team.
Yeah, man. We've one fan base at the end of the day. Doesn't matter where you're from. It's still red and gold when he cuts through the center.
Yeah, cuts to the center. I'm gonna be excited when I get that Niner UK flag, man. Just to show some respect and tribute to you guys, bro. You guys show that hardcore. I respect that.
Thanks very much, man. Honestly, it's been an absolute blast. I can't believe we've been on here for an hour, man. Honestly, it feels like 10 minutes. It's coming up to midnight here in the UK now, and I could easily go on for another hour, not a problem at all. But like I say, we've got to let these lovely people get out here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm Nick at nludlam84 on Twitter. Same on Instagram. You're going to get a very healthy dose of Niners throughout the summer. You're going to see a fair bit of Giants. You will get a bit of spam about MS. Don't get me wrong. My show is 49 Faithful UK live on YouTube. We are live UK time, 8 p.m. every Tuesday. I think that would be 5 p.m. West Coast, 3 p.m. East Coast, I think is how it works out-ish. Oh, midday and 3 p.m. even. Sorry, my apologies. My maths is
it's all good, man. The timing's different. That's the only difference out here. But I'll work something out with you down the road. But I'm going to work with Paul at some point too. So I got you, Paul. Everybody else in the UK, man. Salute to all the people in the UK, man. It's great that we can all talk football here and all that stuff. But for everybody else, thank you guys for tuning in. And me and Nick will log out and see you guys on the next episode on CG Ruthless 49ers Talk. Peace, y'all.